loading snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Sin. You are now tuned into Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about all kinds of things that are happening in pop culture. And today, good job, Sin, will be no different, except it's a little different.
just a little.
Jokes is probably gonna pop up at some time. You know what I mean? Like along the lines here. Um, we have some real life things happen to us. We still people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So jokes is certainly running behind. Hopefully he'll be able to get home and jump in and hang out, spend some time with us before we wrap the show up. But I mean everything's okay. I don't want people to think like everything's okay. Just there it is, Cuddy. What it do? You know what it do. It do Outriders. That's what it do.
Don't worry, mine is updating as we speak, so it's nice and ready.
Boy, 11 gigs. Did you make sure you did that update, Cuddy? I double checked mine. It was already done. Good to go. Ice flipping. All right, not here. So far, we're safe. That could change at a moment's notice. And if the show shuts down, you'll know why.
You know why?
You'll know why. Dang, that just sounded like thunder. See what you did, Cuddy? Everything was sweet.
Cuddy did it.
Yeah, real talk. Look, so before we get too deep in the show, we have a couple of things we got to do. And since Jokes isn't here to do it, I got to do his job. There's a Beacons link. Y'all know what to do with that. At this point, most of the people who are paying attention, watching the show, hanging out with us here, you know what that is. But hit that link. Once you hit that, you can follow us across the board at all the things we're doing and all the places where we are. We are all over social media in just about every place you can be. We don't have a WhatsApp. Sin, do we need a WhatsApp?
I don't think so yet.
Yet?
Maybe in the future. I don't know. I don't feel like we need it right now.
All right. Okay. We'll discuss that later. I think we might need a WhatsApp. But that's where our MCU chat is, and if you went and saw Thor Love and Thunder and you would like to discuss it without spoiling it for other people, in our MCU chat there is a place to go so you can do just that. There's where our anime chat is. That is where our wrestling chat is. Sin, what is going on with anime chat this week?
Well, this week, since the summer shows are just starting and just ramping up, we started our episode of the week topic. So that's pinned to the top of the chat page. So you can vote on what you thought had the episode of the week. Sunday, that winner will be announced. Also, we're running back Robin's recommendations this week, all about recommending anime this week. So if you're looking for something specific, just ask us. There's a post also pinned to the top about that. Last week, I announced that our new Thriller Park show was Nanana's Buried Treasure. Halfway into it, we realized it was not a thriller. Unfortunately, Marcus just had a bad pick. It's okay. We tossed it to the side and we went with this, Gabby's pick, which was Paranoia Agent. So we watched the first two episodes of that. The episodes 3 and 4 we'll be doing at 8 o'clock on Thursday as usual. But if anybody wants to go and watch episodes 1 and 2, just hit me up. I'll be glad to jump in. I'm going to recap them anyway before we get to it. So you can jump in and watch with me and we can knock that out. And also on Thursday, we are running back season 1 of Anime Vault. This week is episode 4, Crying Freeman. So look for that on Thursday. And that is.
Are you dropping those in anime chat? The old episodes of Anime Vault? Are you dropping them in anime chat?
I was, but I think with Blerdcon, I didn't drop the last 2, so I'll make sure I drop those first thing probably tomorrow. I'll set them up and drop them in there tomorrow.
Okay. Cuddy, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, by Meta. J. Robert Dean's Jr. is out playing, and that's why Junior's not here. Junior's out working. Junior's an old man now. We have to treat him as such now. We have to be cognizant of the recent birthday in some manner. Sin, you got a job to do.
Yeah, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dorch, Tyrone Carson, and Meticulous Skin. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely, positively. Thank you very much for your patronage. Good evening, Zane.
Hey, Zayna.
Uh, yeah, that's right. Stop it, Jay. Tell him Todd's time. We're gonna start having you fill in, Todd. When he's not there, we're gonna have you start jumping in. Yeah, it's already over. So briefly, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but briefly, we're gonna recap Blerdcon. We have a lot of content that is still being worked. We're pushing out some quick interviews and things like that. But there are a couple of things that I want to specifically touch on. The first of which is the feeling of Blerdcon. What's up,
Hey,
Heather?
Heather.
Whom speak of someone we saw at Blerdcon.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the feeling of Blerdcon. I know we touched on this last week before we went in to Blerdcon. Tatiana said I prefer to stay behind the camera if possible. Not possible.
Your status has been updated.
Tell little jokes to hurry home. Nah, I just nah, it's completely possible. But it does that feeling doesn't last long. Look at K. K all kinds of in front of the camera now.
Right.
Sin, again, I know we talked last Tuesday a little bit about what Blerdcon is and kind of what sets it apart. Having come through the weekend, and I'm not looking for something detail specific necessarily. I feel like last week we struggled a little bit to put it into
thunder
words.
on my end. Got the thunder over here.
Got a little thunder?
Yep.
You got any love too?
No, I'm missing that.
No, okay. Having come through the weekend, can you describe the feeling of Blerdcon?
It feels like a Blerd family reunion.
Sure.
That's what it feels like. You know, just the dancing, the partying, the fellowship, the geeking out over things you love. It just that's the way I can think of describing. Just meeting up with the people you haven't seen since your last Blerdcon or whatever. People coming from all different states you don't get to see like that. It just felt like our family reunion.
Yeah, I mean it is. Again, it feels less, I think, cordoned off. Like it feels less. Oddly enough, this probably isn't the right way. There's something about Blerdcon that feels slightly less structured, which is probably.
I know what you're trying to say. Like there is structure, but we kind of just do us at the same time. Like it's interesting.
There's so much happening at any given time. I feel like you're never out of the mix unless you choose to be. And by out of the mix, I mean I think a lot of it honestly has to do with the way the space specifically is designed at the hotel. I think that has a lot to do with it. I honestly do believe that like if Blerdcon was at somewhere like a convention center, if it was at the Gaylord, if it was at the Washington Convention Center in DC, I feel like the way that those buildings are bent, where it's just kind of these cold, large open rooms where they do auto shows sometimes, you know what I mean, or whatever it is, that it would feel less homey, right? But like if you decide that you want to participate in playing video games or in the tournament, those things are like happening without an issue in the same room where there's just a DJ playing. And because when you walk in, the structure is so open, like from the fourth floor, you can see basically down to the
Down to
like
the bottom.
second
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah.
And that's where the music is, and that music resonates all the way up through, as does the sound of video games being played, and does the sound of people talking and having a good time. And it I
And
think
they could be playing you know, some popular dance song, and you'll see you see people in groups on all the levels, like just break out, start doing the dance along with it.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
J. Robert Dean said, Blerdcon seems to me like the old cookouts after church, the historical black churches of the large South, somewhat raucous, fun, engaging, inviting, reunions, parties. It is that.
Mm-hmm.
It is that. The thing about it is, I feel like it would be that even if it was in a different place. But I think that there is something very specific about how it works because of the layout of the hotel it's in. You because of you always feel like you're a part of something when you go to a like. All right, if you're at Awesome Con or Baltimore Comic Con and you go to a panel, on your way to the panels, you feel like you're away from the
Yeah.
action, anything good that's happening. You're away from the vendor hall. You're away from Artist Alley. Like, it feels like a completely separate thing that is happening somewhere totally different. And realistically, they could section off those areas and it could be a completely different convention or something else going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't seem, necessarily weird. The way that it's laid out, as you make your way up the escalators or the elevators in this very open environment, on your way to the breakout rooms, to the to where the panels are happening. The panels, when you're in the panel, you hear and feel what's going on in the panel. You don't, like, the outside doesn't disrupt or disturb that. But the moment you step outside that door, the moment you come back into the main hall, you're
You're right
back
back.
in.
You're right back in it. Yeah.
You don't feel like you gotta walk all the way down this hallway and go down whatever and get, whatever, to get back to Artist Alley, or where
Mm-hmm.
everybody is taking pictures everywhere. Photo shoots are happening
Yes.
everywhere. Dancing is happening everywhere.
Everywhere.
People are eating everywhere. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, it's
Even
consistent.
even that walk from the hotel next door to where the food trucks are and all that, you still don't feel out of the action or nothing at any
Because
point in time.
everybody's outside eating, and they're playing music on the
Mm-hmm.
stage outside where the trucks are. It feels more cohesive, like it's all one thing, which I think is what I mean when I say it feels less structured. It feels like there are less 90-degree angles. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it just feels that way. Um, J. Robert Dean said, despite the family feel, larger shows always have an industrial feel with certain aspects. I would agree with
Mm-hmm.
that. But Heather said, Blerdcon and DJ Senpai had tables at MagFest with music. It was like a mini Blerdcon around those tables. I would agree. Same thing at Awesome Con and
Yeah.
other conventions they usually go to. Like, we can walk into another convention and
Oh
go,
yeah.
oh, Blerdcon's
Oh,
that
you're
way.
over
Like,
there.
you know where your
Yeah.
table is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just can. Um, Dark Iceman. Tardy Ty himself is back for some action. What's up, everybody? I can't wait for them Blerdcon videos to start dropping along with that Thor Love and Thunder spoiler. Boys! It's
Oh
coming, bro.
boys.
We are actually going to talk a little bit about Thor today. Just so you're aware. So don't go anywhere. Um, Blerdcon videos, again, have that, short, quick, kind of just 60 seconds, just kind of jumping in, talking to some people. We're kind of restructuring some of the work that we do when we go to conventions. In that, as we kind of catch up and recap with people who we've already shot,
Mm-hmm.
some of our more longer structured interviews with, we're just kind of doing catch up, quick catch up videos that we can get up to reels or to shorts or, something along those lines. And people seem to be responding to them pretty well, sort of surprisingly well, though also kind of planned well that way. So there is some of that. Though I do want to make a specific point before we move on from Blerdcon. So
Okay.
Orlando Jones was the big person that attended Blerdcon this year. In previous years, we've had multiple uh, people as like main
Celebrities.
attractions and so forth,
Hmm.
celebrities and so forth come in. This was basically all about Orlando Jones, which was cool. It worked, especially for what the theme
Yeah,
of this
Homecoming.
year's was with
Hmm.
Homecoming. I will say that I'm very excited about Fade to Black, as in Black
Hmm.
Fade Day, Fade to Black, being next year's theme. I'm pretty excited about that. Um, we were the only people to get an actual sit down interview with Orlando Jones. Sin, you got to do that. You got a full
Hmm.
30 minutes with him. Look for
Yeah.
that. We did post just a short blurb. It's on our TikTok and it's on our reels and it's on our, it's on our YouTube shorts and stuff like that. We did post a short blurb, but I do want to just get some slight insights in on what that was like for you having the opportunity to sit down with Orlando before we move on to the next thing.
I mean, it was dope. You know what I mean? Like we got the interview kind of like at the last minute. What up, Perk? You
What
know
up,
what I mean?
Perk?
We got the interview at the last minute, so I did what little research I could to get ready for it. Went there, didn't know we had 30 minutes. I thought it was gonna be more so kind of like it was at Otakon, last year. Get in, you got like 10 minutes or whatever, like ask
Maybe,
a couple
yeah.
questions and get out. Yeah. So when we get in there, we're setting up. I asked, asked the young lady, so okay, so how much time do we got? So oh yeah, you got like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay. I
Right,
don't know if I got enough questions for 30 minutes, but
right.
we gotta make it work. But he was great. I learned a lot of new stuff about him that I didn't know.
Mhm.
I would throw the questions out, and he was just going and going and going and just real insightful. Like I said, I learned a lot of new stuff about him, and it was just overall a great interview.
Cool.
I'm happy we got that opportunity. That opportunity, real cool dude. So yeah, look forward to that coming out. Just can't wait to hear the feedback from it.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I just saw where was the con? It was at the Hyatt Regency in Crystal City, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Thank
look
you,
for
Heather.
that coming soon. I actually saw the video uploading to YouTube before I jumped in here, so I'll be watching it to double check it just to see how it looks and all that kind of stuff before we post it. But it'll be hitting very shortly. Um, Blerdcon was awesome. Heather
Yes.
actually stopped us and said, "What's up?"
Yes.
Thanks, Heather.
Chatted for a little bit.
We did. We chatted for a lot of bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thank you, Heather, for doing that. Thank you for always being so supportive, for coming out and
Yes.
hanging out with us and so forth. Um, it's gotten to the point now where if we go to a convention and I don't see you, I feel like something's wrong, Heather. So, you know, be around for being around. All right, look, check this out. I'm gonna tell you right now, I have no intentions of spoiling Thor for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Okay.
But we are going to discuss Thor some right now.
Okay.
If you are afraid, if you feel like maybe you shouldn't hear anything, Rob, what up?
You
Always
too,
great,
Rod. Yeah.
always. Then maybe mute for a moment or something. I don't know.
There's two, J. Robert. There's two
There
post
are
credit
two
scenes.
post credit scenes. Making all the big interviews. It ain't gonna stop. Um, Hoping to take Kayla soon. You
Definitely.
should.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I meant to show this. Let me just. We posed a little bit.
Hey.
I
Little
was
something,
kind of late.
something.
Again, Blerdcon is one of those conventions that doesn't really end. Like once it starts, it doesn't end until it's actually
No.
over. There's always something happening.
Yeah.
We managed to get there when there was nothing happening. For a moment, so that was cool. Hold on.
Let's put it on the screen. Let's put it on the screen real quick.
My man, Dark Iceman said he loved it.
he ready. He ready.
So that means I'm gonna hate it.
Thunder is.
You might be a little bit right. I'm wondering whether or not J. Robert Deans is actually really gonna like this. Zayna said the 7 that IGN gave Love and Thunder was well deserved. Methinks I'm about there, though. I'm on like a 6. I'm at
That
like a 6.
that's where I'm at. I'm at a solid 6.
Yes, it probably means you will love it, J. Robert Deans, which is gonna be weird, but it will be in line. um, whoo. Okay. Ty, I don't want to get into specifics because um I don't want to spoil this for anyone. And when I say
That's what
spoil it, I
Spoiler
don't mean
Boys is
like
for.
there's a difference between spoiling a movie and ruining a movie. Now I could probably do both. I could
Easily.
probably do both. Um, uh, Perp said it was better than Eternals at least. I don't know, Perp. I think you might be wrong about that. Of course, that's opinion based.
Yeah.
What I will say is that a couple of months ago, I had a discussion with someone. I had a discussion with a group of people on my other podcast about Eternals, and about people's ratings and so forth, and whether or not the Eternals deserved like Oscar nods. And I'm like, nah, that joint is an Oscar worthy film. And they were like, no, not at all. And I'm like, nah. If you remove the fact that Eternals is an MCU film from it, it is a gorgeous, beautifully shot, well executed cinematic masterpiece. It ticks all the boxes. And I really feel like it gets a bad rap specifically because it sits in that box that is considered a superhero film. That's what I really think. Because there are people like Scorsese going around saying that's not cinema when he doesn't know what he's talking about because he hasn't actually seen it. I mean, it doesn't, isn't it? It doesn't just look nice. It's a great story. It's a great story that's super well told. It just doesn't have the same punch you're used to from the MCU, which is the thing that the MCU is exploring, which is a little bit more about what I think this discussion is going to end up being than it is about Love and Thunder. Because Love and Thunder is another one of those films that is taking a very different approach to what these films are. There's only so much you can do with a franchise that has this many characters and this many films in it if you consistently repeat the exact same thing over and over again. Here's a hero, here's an origin, this is how they got their powers, here's the big bad, here's how we beat the big bad. Next movie. Here's a hero, here's an origin, you know what I mean? It's right. So you really do have to begin to stretch your film types and so forth. Love and Thunder does not do that anywhere near as well as Ragnarok did. That's
Agreed.
where I'm at. Ragnarok pushed the envelope, added a level of comedy that had not been seen in the MCU. The closest thing to it was Ant-Man. This went, like, took some jumps over what Ant-Man was as far as that's concerned. Um, you're right, J. Robert Dean. Eternals could have been tighter, but it was a beautiful film. Sure. Ty, the Dark Iceman, says, that's why I'm going to listen to that Spoiler Boys at home so I can look sad all over y'all trashing. Hey, again, look, it's not, the movie's not trash. I don't think it's trash. Sin, do you think it's trash?
No, I don't think it's trash, but
Trash, I think, puts it at like a 2.
somewhere down there. I gave it a 6. Like it's good, but like I probably won't watch it again unless I'm watching with somebody else or until like the next Thor movie comes out to recap and go see that. So like it's not something I'll be running back to.
Yeah. You're right about that, J. Robert Dean. Scorsese has not made a new film in 40 years. He's been remaking the same films over and over again and retelling the same stories about the same kind of people over and over again. Which maybe is, I don't know. You would think that somebody like him would think that everything in this Marvel Cinematic Universe could all be the same. But maybe he looks at comedies and thinks comedies aren't cinema. You know what I mean? Like maybe he looks at romantic comedies or any of that kind of stuff and feels like they're not cinema. I don't know. J. Robert Dean said Ant-Man was also a different kind of comedy, more like Sneakers, whereas Waititi is more scatological. Now, let's talk about that for a second. My biggest issue with this movie is that the comedy takes a turn I don't think these movies have earned. When I say that, and I did discuss this a little bit in Spoiler Boys, and again, we're not going to get into specifics. You'll know it when you watch the movie, or you'll understand what I'm saying if you've seen it. There's a difference between comedy that is like just kind of raucous comedy versus like your silly comedy or over the top comedy. This movie borderlines on like Mel Brooks. This borderlines on like Airplane, Robin Hood Men in Tights, kind of like stupid just comedy that doesn't really fit. Everything about Ragnarok, even for the comedy, is more based on the characters and things that the characters do, how characters react to the situations that they're in.
Yeah.
This joint has straight up
yes.
Okay. This joint has straight up stupid shit in it. It's just stupid. There are literally things in this movie that are comedy, just what I say. And here's the thing: I'm not saying they're not funny, because they are, but they don't fit.
It feels out of place. It feels out of place.
Right. Ant-Man wasn't going too far. Ragnarok, for a lot of people, there were a lot of people who felt like Ragnarok went too far. This joint is too far. It's a mix of what Ragnarok was with like the Muppets / Spaceballs level just stupid comedy in it that is a little off-putting. J. Robert Dean said the Ragnarok comedy felt natural. The bits we saw in the trailer concerned me, like Thor making goo-goo eyes at the direction of Pratt. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's it feels to me like they were unsure what to do with Thor as a character and what specifically to do with his arc, especially considering what happened not just with the pandemic and how that forced them to adjust their scheduling, but also more specifically with what happened with James Gunn and Guardians 3 not coming out in the place it was supposed to. I think that threw everything else off, but had a bigger effect on Thor because Thor was supposed to be with them the last time we saw him, and so it was clearly like, oh well, Guardians 3, clearly Thor's going to be with them. And so I think that movie, I think unfortunately we are still things will get better. I think we are still suffering from some slight budgetary concerns that are coming from the pandemic, right? Having to do reshoots, what they're paying different special effects homes to take care of certain things, and where that budget goes when you have to go back and reshoot things, or you have to change things or rewrite things because you had to readjust where things are going to fall, and things that are on the cutting room floor. There's a very, very good YouTube video with Taika Waititi and what's her name that plays Valkyrie? Tessa Thompson, where they do this. They do a breakdown. This is common for this YouTube channel, but they do a breakdown of like certain scenes and stuff like that. There's literally a moment in that where Tessa Thompson they watch a scene, and Tessa Thompson says to Taika, look at this shot right here. There's a shot where I'm looking at the camera and I kind of go like that. Like she makes this kind of like a shocked face. And she says to him, that's from when we were shooting and it was going to be that it was like a dream sequence and we were waking up from it. and we changed that, but you left that shot in. And she just straight up said to him, like, you missed it. And he was like, oh, yeah, I did. And she was like, and it seems out of place, but it works. There's a lot of that in this film. And if you watch and listen to that to that discussion,
Mhm.
you'll hear it. And so, you know, I do believe that the film is it came out better, I think, than Black Widow. But I think it's a victim still. We're still kind of dealing with the aftermath of the way things had to be shot. Um, the time constraints that created, and therefore the budgetary constraints and concerns that created. So, we'll see. Ty said, I do think these slate of MCU movies are world building than anything, especially showing that null exists in the MCU. So, absolutely, they are world building, and the things that are happening right now could seem insignificant. This movie feels insignificant in the grand scheme of things. What that
Mhm.
more than likely means is it is currently our Thor the Dark World of the MCU, which is
Of
actually
this
a
new
really good
phase.
movie
Yeah.
and is super important in the grand scheme of things. And if you go back and watch it now, that movie's actually pretty daggone solid. And
Mm.
in hindsight, with all of the things that we know and we have seen since that movie came out, when you watch it now, you can watch it with different eyes. And it is like going back and reading an old issue of a comic book, which is how this is designed to work now. So that's going to happen. J. Robert Dean said Kenobi was a pandemic production as well. I think you're right that a ton of projects are going through that and will for the next 2 years. You're absolutely right. Speaking of which, have you watched the fan edit of Kenobi into a movie? I have not.
No, I know about it, but nah, I haven't watched it.
What up, Doctor Who? You are
What
late.
up, Doc?
Ty beat you here, so you super late.
Mm. Yes.
No, I haven't seen the fan edit of Kenobi. I could guarantee you it's better than what it what we got.
What the full project was.
Y'all already know how I feel about that. Yeah, again, I don't think that Thor was a bad movie. Again, I'm teetering on a 7. I think the movie has
6.
there's potential in it, but definitely there are things that the cutting room floor is full of things that just you know got left out. There's one or two CG issues I have. I'm starting to get over that kind of stuff again because I recognize that it's pandemic
Mhm.
based related, and you can't just hold things forever. So it is what it is. Listen, you have anything else you want to say about Thor before we move on?
No, I'll say it's all in spoiler boys, so I don't want to get
I was
too deep
Bale.
into it. So
Okay. I think Christian Bale did an excellent job as Gore the God Butcher, given what we were able to actually see of him as a character. Um,
I didn't have a problem with Bale in it.
yeah,
I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
know. I think Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher is better than Christian Bale's Batman. Um, Dark
That's that.
Iceman. Ty says, yeah, definitely a pandemic movie. If you look at the credits, they had like 10 FX teams working on the movie. Absolutely. They had to, and that's been a common thing. It's not just Disney, it's everybody. Senor Nash. What's up? What's up? What's up? Um, it's been more common, right? That they are having to push those things out. Hold on. Hey Sin, put that on the screen. Hey Ty, did
Right
you
there,
just say
just
you
like that,
agrees with me?
just like that. I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'll screenshot that later. Um,
Tab.
J. Robert Dean said, "Oh, did y'all see the article about FX workers trying to get out of working for Marvel because of the workload?" Yes, I did see that. But yeah, I mean, look, Marvel is pushing it, and again, I think that's having an effect on the work that we're seeing, and we are beginning to really see. Previously, work in MCU films specifically has been seamless, relatively seamless. It's not uncommon for there to be different effects houses working on different parts of effects for movies, but it has been more common recently because the pandemic has made it so it's harder for one major house to do the majority of the effects and like another one to do the rest of them, so to speak, right? And
Mhm.
so when you assign one effects house to take care of environmental stuff and somebody else to take care of like facial animations or things like that, You're gonna find things to be a little more quirky in some cases than otherwise. So it's definitely a thing. And again, it's not just affecting them, but it feels like it's affecting Disney more because what they're doing with stuff that like Marvel is so much of what they do is reliant on those effects
Yeah, yeah.
in order to pay off what it is that we're getting, what we're watching. So, you know, we'll see. Um Sin,
Yo,
you like Back to the Future?
it's cool. I'm not like a super like Back to the Future guy, but growing up, I don't think I ever saw three, but like part one and two, I messed with.
Okay. Did you know that there is currently a Back to the Future musical?
No.
Okay. It's been running in the UK for like a year, and they just announced that they are bringing it to Broadway.
Okay.
It's been doing super well.
I can see that. That sounds like it would be fire on Broadway. Yeah.
It could.
Yeah.
So
Potential.
that leads me to a curveball.
Uh
What is a movie that you would rather see made into a musical
oh.
than get an actual reboot?
Oh.
It's probably 88 minutes long, J. Robert D. uh,
A movie getting remade into a musical, but not
yeah.
a reboot.
Yeah. Is there a film, a franchise, it's dormant or beloved that like maybe at some point the idea or concept of a reboot, like we talked about this a little bit when we were doing Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel about like how like Trigun is getting as an anime is getting basically a reboot, right? And we talk about kind of some of the gatekeeping and feeling like we need to
Hmm.
protect it. Is there something that like kind of been dormant, you know what I mean, or whatever, and you're like, it might be time for a reboot, but really instead of a reboot, a musical instead?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Hey, bruh. Hey, Slim. Hey, you might be on something right there, bro. J. Robert Deans, there is nothing to sing about in the U.S. government. Therefore, while they do need a reboot, I don't know that we need a musical. Zane of the Breakfast Club could actually be a really dope musical.
Adventures in Babysitting.
I mean, we did just get Thor Love and Thunder, and Thor is in Adventures in Babysitting, so maybe Gremlins?
Gremlins the musical.
Gremlins? On stage. Straight up musical. Still in the 80s. Batman and Robin. Like when you say Batman and Robin, you're not talking like the animated adventures of Batman. You're talking about like Zap Pow Bang Adam West, Burt Ward Batman and Robin.
That's the first thing that popped in my head.
Meaning a musical, cause Adam West singing his own name in Family Guy already told me that could work out.
Sleepy
Um,
Hollow.
J. Robert Dean said, but a musical of the government would get a lot of those untalented old white folks out of office. I don't know. And you know what? I would be willing to wager some of them got singing voices. And maybe should be doing that instead of government work. Batman vs. Superman? Nah. No. I won't accept that perp. I'm not. Schindler's List. I mean, that could absolutely work. I don't think we should reboot that or revisit that as a movie. Like maybe another theatrical release of the original film. Certainly don't think that should be redone, but I could certainly see a musical of Schindler's List. Zane has said because Heather's the musical is so good, like the soundtrack alone, eats. Okay, I'm with that. Human Centipede, that's a no.
No.
The Last Dragon. I mean,
That don't be
also has
fire.
a fire soundtrack.
That don't be
already.
fire.
I mean, if you redo Big Trouble in Little China, you don't have to do The Last Dragon, but bruh. Hey, listen. Snoop Dogg does a Who's the Master show enough. Does the title track for the character. That could work. Doctor Who said,
Oh, yeah.
ew. Doc Iceman, fun fact that y'all know, that was Vincent D'Onofrio playing Thor in Adventures in Babysitting. I did know that.
I
I
did not
did
know that.
actually
So now I
know
need to
that.
go back and revisit that.
Oh, it looks like him, but it doesn't.
Child's Play the
Like,
musical?
yeah, Perp, are you reaching? Like, what are you trying to do, Perp? What are you doing, Perp?
I think Sleepy Hollow could be dope.
Who will replace Julius Carvey as shown up? Any number of cosplayers that I've seen do it.
What? Yeah. There was one at Blerdcon over the weekend. He was bodying it.
Great show enough cosplays. So as long as show enough gets a musical number, I think that could be dope. All right, that's enough of a distraction for a little bit. Sin, watch your screen. Pow. Oh man.
You say like that's supposed to, speak to me.
Oh man, it's about to. It's about to. So BTS announced that they have a partnership with Disney Plus specifically.
I knew that was coming.
Yes,
I was waiting for that.
I said Child's Play the music would be wild. I watched that for the spectacle alone. Okay, you would buy tickets and go to the theater if they announced a Child's Play the musical. Ty, you would buy tickets and go to the theater. Is that what you're telling me? Cause yeah, he did do Babysitting right after Person. Who that? Who is BTS? That's BTS, buddy. Listen, I'm gonna read to you exactly what's happening. Kevin Hart could play Chucky. I don't know if he can sing, but it would be funny. I don't think Kevin Hart can sing at all.
So Dark Iceman says yes, he would go to the theater.
Okay, I'm with that. So the Walt Disney Company and BTS studio home Hybe, that's HYBE, revealed a new global content partnership Tuesday. That's today. That will see the companies work together to produce 5 titles for Disney streaming services, including 3 exclusive projects featuring BTS or BTS members. Aligning itself with the world's most popular K-pop group is undoubtedly a coup for Disney as it seeks to both ramp up global subscriber counts and catch up with Netflix as a destination for bankable Korean entertainment. I'm going to stop there. So BTS is doing what they initially called a hiatus. What it technically was more of an announcement of them working on solo or individual projects. They are still a group and they are still working as a group. What's saying? So did we. So did we. Look, here's where I'm at. The streaming wars are still a thing.
Oh yeah.
And for a very long time, we've talked many times about the fight for content and ownership of that content and who has the licensing and so forth for what kind of content and what goes where. That has a much more global impact, or should, compared to what we normally talk about. We usually talk about the movies we know and the actors and actresses we know and don't really think about things on an international level. The way a company like a Disney does when it comes to being global, and when you're talking about market share, the elephant in the room is always Netflix, and it will be for a long time. It may not stay that way, but in order to maintain its level of relevancy, you see Netflix talking about going to models that mimic what Amazon has, what Hulu has, in having a version of Netflix that allows you to watch with ads. and that is, our Iceman said they look like the cast of All of Us Are Dead.
Yeah.
Um, J. Robert Dean says, so BTS is taking a sabbatical to get out of their contract with their overlords, a reform with a contract that actually benefits the group. I don't know that that's necessarily what's happening, so to speak. I mean, they're saying,
They're
not
saying
exactly. In all honesty, they kind of run their company, but they have been nonstop for 9 years and discuss experiencing burnout and are refocusing to be stronger. Yeah, so I think more of what's happening is some of the vice grip that a group like BTS is generally under, what most other K-pop groups are definitely under, is undoubtedly loosened when you become the international phenomenon that you are, and other entities begin to seek you, and you can begin to speak with and talk to other folks and
Mhm.
entities. Um, there's it's always tricky when you look at anything that is written in entertainment, especially in music, as far as contracts and who gets paid for what and how all that kind of stuff works. But realistically, um, in entertainment as a whole, um, you could take like wrestling as an example, right? Where there are things where the WWE has a contract with a wrestler and may actually contractually have ownership over a particular gimmick or a particular name that a person is using, but not the person, not the finisher, the finishing move, right? That
Mhm.
person can go to another, wrestling house and do essentially the same thing, but not under that same name. Um, Zayna said they literally hold up the economy over there. As soon as their hiatus was announced, the stocks were in shambles. Um, but they've had a long history of mistreatment, but that's other conversations entirely. I have PowerPoints on it, and believe me, those PowerPoints are very real. J. Robert Dean's, they are very real. Um, yeah. So I mean, look, I think this is a good thing for BTS. I think that any additional exposure, because look, as much of a phenomenon as K-pop is, it's still niche here
Yes.
in many ways. But they can announce a concert and it will be sold out before you can get tickets. Like it's what it is, and it's not just them now because of what that phenomenon is.
Mhm.
Um, but what is happening to K-pop now here is a lot like what has happened to comic books and the MCU and those characters here over the last 10 to 12 years. Many more people are more familiar with them. Many more people are familiar with who they are. If it isn't,
No,
what
it's
if
definitely a massive get for Disney. Like
no doubt.
the subscriptions they're gonna pull in, they're gonna pull it in by the millions.
Hey buddy.
Hey.
Hey.
Word up. um yeah, I mean look, one of the things that Netflix has been doing really, really well is being able to take global entertainment that they have control over or have the rights to outside of the US and then lock that stuff down to actually also bring it to the US, which is hitting an audience that otherwise wouldn't have access to it. And a lot of that um, is coming out of the pandemic. People being at home and just looking for content and finding new content and finding exposure things that they wouldn't have normally because it's on TikTok, because it's on Reels, because it's on Instagram, because it's on YouTube.
Mhm.
And people just jumping in. All right, well, I got this disposable income. We can't go on vacation, so I'll use that money to pay for streaming services so I can watch A, B, and C. And they're being introduced to content they wouldn't normally be introduced to. It's a lot like what happened with Game Pass, where there's a lot of, from a business standpoint, there are a lot of people that tell you that Game Pass would not or should not ever work in terms of making money for the individuals who have content that's in Game Pass. However, it turns out that what's happening is because people have access to so many games, because it's there, they're playing stuff that they would not normally play. So somebody who almost always exclusively plays a shooter is picking up a puzzle game, is picking up an RPG or something like that. And so they're being introduced to genres of video games that they would not normally. And that is in turn leading to them going and buying things that aren't on Game Pass. They are spending money with the creators of those titles that don't have those titles in Game Pass because they like the content that they created. So the same thing is happening / has happened inside of Amazon Prime, inside of Netflix, inside of Disney Plus, as people have been introduced to content that they would not normally consume. They're being introduced to it because there are actors who are doing things that they are not necessarily known for doing. And so somebody goes, I like that actor. They're in so-and-so movie or they're in such and such show. Let me jump in and see what's happening. What's going on with that. The way that the savviness of those who are into understanding how important data is as a whole, that includes the actors and the entertainers getting hip. Thor Love and Thunder is executive produced by Chris Hemsworth. One of the most important things that happens in that movie introduces a new character. That new character is played by Chris Hemsworth's daughter. She will now be in the MCU. That means she has a multi-contract deal. It's done. Those are the things that are happening. Right? And so BTS has a deal through their company that is for 5 pieces of content. Some of it will showcase some individual things. Some of it will showcase concerts that are already there. Zayn specifically said to me, they're going to show the concert I already paid for.
And she's going to watch it again a bunch of times.
She is. But many more people will be exposed to it.
Yeah.
Many more people will see it. Many more people will be aware of BTS and who they are. Doing things individually, right? When I show you this image, there's nobody in this chat space now other than Zaina who can tell you who all of those people are.
Not a single one.
Can look at them and be like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, right? So, but by now doing things where you will be introduced to a specific person, right? Who maybe also happens to be the person that produces their music, produces their beats. Well, now from an international standpoint, from an international level, you'll have people who are doing music here in the US or doing music in the UK who go, I like his work. Let me go reach out to so-and-so. Let me try to get, you know what I mean? Like those kinds of things, anything that, we're not talking about doubling your exposure. We're talking about like quintupling your exposure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something along those lines.
As big as they are, it's so easy to see somebody on Disney Plus. And like, I keep hearing about these BTS guys. Let me just throw this on real quick and just see what it's about. The next thing you know, you didn't watch the whole concert.
Yeah. Yep. And you're right, J. Robert Deans. It is a bit of a blurry image. Regardless, Zaina could tell you who all of them are. Nana could tell you who all of them are. Yes, Nana, you could do it. Lexi could do it too, and so could Candace. Okay, fine. Everybody in my family but me who's here.
That's strictly that. Yeah.
By proxy, you can say all the names.
Correct. But also, this is important. So I'm going to read a little bit about what's going to happen, and we're not going to focus too much longer on this. But there are 3 forthcoming title features from the stars. So one of which is BTS Permission to Dance on Stage, which is in LA. An exclusive cinematic 4K concert film featuring BTS live performance in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium, from November 2021. Performing Billboard hit songs Butter and Permission to Dance. Again, these are their biggest U.S. hits. They're the ones that most of the people who do know them here, not most of them who know them here, but most of the people who didn't know them for these. So they're calling that out, right? And that's going to draw people in. Then we have In the Soup Friendcation, an original travel reality show with a star-studded cast including V of BTS. I'm gonna say this wrong. This ain't gonna be mad. I'm not gonna do it.
Sound with that smoke.
Yeah,
She probably gonna be able to say the name without you even saying
you
it.
gonna hear her come running down the steps in a
I
minute.
mean, I'm sure she knows what it is. Look, she already asked me, do I have to come down there? No, man. It says the show features the 5 friends venturing on a surprise trip and enjoying a variety of leisure and fun activities. Which, look, is a kind of thing that they already do on, like, their YouTube channels. They do live streams, stuff like that. Like, it's probably more commonplace for them, but it's also a style of doing things from overseas that here we're not really used to or introduced to.
Yeah.
Then BTS Monuments Beyond the Star. This original docuseries follows the incredible journey of 21st century pop icons BTS, says Disney, with unprecedented access to a vast library of music and footage over the past 9 years. The series will feature the daily lives, thoughts, and plans of BTS members as they prepare for their second chapter. The show will be available exclusively on Disney streaming service in 2023. So again, we're looking forward. One of the most successful things that has been on Disney, most of you probably didn't pay a lot of attention to, happened to have a K-pop star in it. Again, we don't have to get too into it. What I will tell you is that Disney, and it says it in the article, but that Disney has really been working on building out their K-drama content and so forth, specifically based on what Netflix did with stuff like Squid Game. Everybody was like, Squid Game! I love Squid Game! You have any idea how many people said they love Squid Game and never would watch something with subtitles? Straight up. Again, being introduced to stuff in ways that you would never otherwise do it. Zaina, listen. You don't have to. You don't bring fire to me. There's no smoke necessary around here. Okay. J. Robert Dean said, my patrons are probably tired of my making the same BTS jokes, though, and I thought they'd get a breather from this sabbatical. Not going to happen. And you be very careful with BTS jokes.
The BTS army is very strong.
And let me tell you something about cancel culture, J. Robert Dean. If you ain't careful, they will come for you. They're worse than the Beehive. They're worse than Beyonce's people. Ooh. Will there be a BTS show? Yes, and that's basically what we just talked about. BTS. Hey, look at Dark Iceman. I came from left to right.
I left.
Q, Slim, JoJo, Tyrese, Babyface,
Eddie Kane,
Levert.
Hey, listen. That might be the funniest thing you've ever said. And a lot of people don't get that at all. That's terrible. Hey, Jokes, everything good?
Everything's good, man.
Good. Oh no, not jokes about BTS. One of my patron levels. Oh, behind the scenes of BTS. Yeah. That's been a terrible thing. Zane doesn't like when we use BTS because she says we can't use that or use the hashtag BTS because it means BTS instead of meaning behind the scenes. And I'm like, well, behind the scenes.
I'm fine with that because then that'll bring all those BTS people over to see our content. So I'm perfectly fine with that.
I said the same thing.
All they're gonna do is look and say, "There's only 3 of y'all. Y'all ain't BTS." What you mean?
Or you're really brown. That's not BTS. Most should get that joke because a lot of those folks produce a bunch of K-pop artists. No, they do. Well, I don't know about a lot of them, but some of them. Nah, Q's not. I don't think Slim is. Tyrese isn't.
Eddie Kane definitely ain't.
Levert? No. No. Santa said that when your content has nothing to do with BTS and then Army, on you for clout chasing. I'm trying to protect you. Oh, let me listen. I'm trying to protect J. Robert Deans. I'm not scared of the Army. I'm not scared of the Army only because I'm a member by proxy. I'm in there. You ain't trying to protect me. You are me. Army.
Pretty much.
Hey, look. So speaking of Disney Plus, I have a question to present. I'm glad you're here, Jokes. So there's been a little bit of tomorrow we get the last episode of Miss Marvel, and I'm excited.
Same here.
It's been good.
Yes.
Love you, Zay. So they So they did a reveal of technically what Miss Marvel's finished on-screen suit, like comic book suit, is going to be. O.J. Robert Dean says he thinks Carol shows up. I don't think so. I don't think Carol shows up. I think she's way too far off world. Who do we say is gonna show up soon? Rambo.
Oh yeah, Rambo. Yeah.
Because she's in Jersey and WandaVision was in Jersey, and so Rambo was in Jersey, and so I think that is the Miss Marvel or Photon that we get in this show. I don't know that we necessarily get Carol Danvers specifically, but she can show up. Like, I don't know that she'll be there, but it doesn't mean that in some manner we won't see her. So you could be still very right about that. Photon was put up by the Skrulls, but that doesn't make her off-world because the Skrulls are on Earth.
Skrulls are here.
Yes, they are.
We done probably seen them umpteen amount of times and don't even realize it yet.
Yeah, like even at the end of Shang-Chi, like when she chimes in to talk about the 10 rings and what they're having, like she's way like off-world. But then there was also a reveal from the set of the Marvels. It wasn't an official reveal. It was like somebody snuck a shot, like a leaked photo, and it shows Miss Marvel's outfit from the movie, and they're not the same. And Scroll thing is a good point. Can't speak to John Cook. All right. Not in the PC and Reddit world. You might be right. So people are upset because they're saying that this 6-episode thing that Disney Plus is doing isn't giving us enough time with our characters in their quote unquote final forms, right? That like we get a reveal of the outfit and we see that outfit for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then the next time we see them, they got a completely different outfit, right? And that there's not enough time. And so now people are beginning to say, like, they are basically trying to petition Disney. They feel like these Disney Plus shows should actually be longer. That we're not getting enough time with these characters, and we're not getting enough time with them in those suits, and that the final episodes, the episode 6s, if you will, throughout, have felt more rushed. Where do we stand on this? Let's start with, do we need more episodes? Should these seasons be longer than 6 episodes?
I would say yes, because I mean they have done ones that have been longer than 6 episodes. It's just I know they want to try to avoid having to stretch certain things out just to seem like it's filler, and so we can get to like say 9 episodes. Like I think 6 episodes to flesh out things for the most part, if it's done right. Like as far as Miss Marvel goes right now, I think the 5 episodes that we've gotten so far have been pretty solid. And
right,
I think
but we haven't seen her in her
the suit yet.
This has been it's been a 6-episode origin story. It's taking a very long time, and I'm just gonna chime in here and say, we've talked about the idea of The difference between a show like this is that you're getting somewhere between 4 hours and 6 hours, right, of content versus getting 2 hours of content. And if you have to deliver an origin and you have to do it in an hour and a half to 2 hours, it has to happen a lot faster. Must be much quicker. What I will say, though, on the other side of that is, look at the first season of Daredevil. How long did the origin story take?
Oh, the whole season.
No,
it was only
episode. Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking when he got
10 episodes. It's like part of the first episode.
I'm thinking when he got the actual outfit. That's what I was thinking.
Sure, it took a long time before we got the outfit.
Yeah,
but like, what happened to him?
Yeah, that was
in and out.
Yeah.
But it was also like 13 episodes. Much more fleshed out, I believe.
I would say I could go with like another 2 episodes, making them 8 episodes. That'll probably help flesh out like some of the story elements and issues that we have in each one of these series. There's always something that comes up. We're like, well, what about this? Like the whole thing with the red knives or whoever they are in this one, and we had those questions. Yeah, we had the questions about like how they getting this information, all that kind of stuff, and it's just, you know what I'm saying, just up front.
They just told at you.
Yeah, so with another 2 episodes, we could probably get some of that stuff fleshed out. But hey.
J. Robert Dean says, I speak as a writer. If the story demands it, yes, go longer. If it's only to placate the demands of seeing the hero in the final costume, I direct you to Smallville. So I think Smallville, while you're absolutely correct, I think Smallville is an anomaly because everybody already knows who Superman is. Everybody already knows who Clark Kent is. Right? And so while people wanted to see the outfit, I don't think this is the introduction of a new character. Yes, there are people who know who Miss Marvel is that are complaining about it, but Miss Marvel as a character is like 6 years old.
Yeah.
Right? It's very different from what Superman is and what the history of Superman is and was when Smallville started, right?
Yeah, the vast majority is unfamiliar with her.
You understand as a show that Smallville, even the title itself, is based around the idea of the origin, of him coming into it and them telling that story of what it was for him being in high school. Because all the stories that we've gotten other than that are stories after that. And so we recognize that Smallville is a prequel to a story we already know. Smallville's different. It's not the same. I think, let's see. So I'm positive I missed some of that. So I got to scroll back through some of the chiz and that. Bear with me. It's a lot of chat. Sin, you said 8 episodes. Jokes, you think that's about right? Or
I'm about good with that.
I mean, we've seen 9 episodes, right?
Like you said, Daredevil was 13. Yeah. So it's like,
well, I'm talking about Disney Plus. We've seen 9 episodes.
Okay,
I'm cool with longer seasons. You know, it just depends on if it's done right and written well. I just think 876, 8 feels a little bit better to flush out, you know, some of the issues we've been having with these 6 episode series.
Yeah, Cuddy said weren't WandaVision and Winter Soldier longer than 6 episodes. Those lengths were good. Yeah, I mean they were like 9. Zayna said it's the shows with character that we know that have more episodes, right? This could also be a trial run kind of a thing too, and that's possible. But Obi-Wan, whom we know, 6 episodes. I think that there's a part of me that feels like they did some sort of a survey somewhere and some kind of information told them that
a focus group or something. Yeah,
6.
Yeah, like
6 is the magic number.
Yeah, or something like that. They definitely do stick to odd numbers, generally speaking. You know, shows do.
Do we know what the run of She-Hulk is? Do we know the episode run of that?
Take a look. I think it's about the same things too. Hold on, see.
Marcus said 13 well-written episodes. Why 13, Marcus? Not that 13 is my favorite number. I'm okay with 13. I just.
She-Hulk is looking to be 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
but sure. Um,
Yeah,
Dark
that
Iceman. People are
so
complaining just to complain. Now some of these shows are just one season. Some are just one shots, like Moon Knight. I'm fine with 6. We don't know that those are going to be one shots, though, right? Like if
yeah.
it does well
Mm-hmm.
enough, they'll light a sequel,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it can absolutely happen. But the idea that they're one shots and then based on the success of them, that then they get greenlit for another season is likely. Um, God, he said Smallville was cool and the Bama never flew.
Because he a Bama.
Right. Dark Eyes Man said it took Wanda, 6 movies and TV shows for Wanda to be called the Scarlet Witch and get her real comic book accurate outfit. Correct.
Mm-hmm. But I think
Mhm.
Correct.
I think it
However,
worked. I think that worked.
it does work.
Yeah,
However,
had that build up.
that only took the reality of it is that only took the time that it took because they were trying to finagle the rights back
Mm-hmm.
from Fox to be able to talk about mutants. And so the story that is Quicksilver and Wanda is way more complicated than what it is with characters they already have ownership over. The most
Mm-hmm.
complicated thing about what's happening with Kamala Khan is whether or not she's inhuman,
Inhuman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which they have the rights to.
Yep. And they've
And
already technically made it canon now, with Multiverse of Madness. So it's like,
not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's easy to think that, but you don't know that Black Bolt's an inhuman. You just know that Black Bolt existed and that he had the same power. But for all we know, they don't want to touch Inhumans ever again at all, and Black Bolt is a mutant in that universe. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just because we're talking about essentially what if and multiverse, and
mm-hmm.
anything can be what the reality is there, so to
Mhm.
speak. Yes, J. Robert Dean's my favorite number is 13. Yes, Daredevil was 13 well-written episodes, more than one time. Zayna said, could some of this also be for eligibility in the limited series categories and in war shows? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
There's absolutely a portion of that has to do with that. There's no doubt about that. They do lean into some of that, and that also partially comes from wanting to get recognition for things that they're doing that people like Scorsese
Yeah,
have too
Trying
much
to.
control and keeping them from getting. So yes, there's probably a lot of that, that has to do with it. I think there's a standpoint and a good one. I think there's a good point of view that says that they're able to tell really, really good stories in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
In 88 minutes, and that then being able to take that and do it over 6 shows over 4 hours or whatever, that they should be allowed to do that, and they should be. I do understand people's frustration with like, come on, man, let's get that outfit. Just give me the
Yeah,
outfit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me get that outfit.
I can
And they
I
know it's
can
coming,
agree with that.
and they know we'll see it, and then it's like we'll see it, and then we won't see it again. And I'm sure that in some version, right, it will exist
Mm-hmm.
in the next movie, and then it'll get an upgrade. You know what I mean, or something
Yeah,
of some sort, and that's what people are seeing. And I'm positive that people will feel excited about seeing that upgrade
yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
when that, you know what I mean, when that moment actually happens. I'm less concerned about the actual outfit thing, and that's why the conversation itself has been a little bit more focused on whether or not we should have more episodes, whether or not we feel like they should be longer, whether or not they should be putting a bit more time and effort into it. A show like Daredevil was 13 episodes, and yes, Netflix spent really good money to make those shows, but that also is a show that is not VFX heavy. The
Mm-hmm.
budget is different. What it takes to put together a show like Miss Marvel when she has powers and you have to be able to
yeah,
showcase those powers and you need to be able to showcase her abilities, you are also writing in some ways around the budget of what your VFX will allow you to do,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to be able to showcase. So you are having to write things that are focused in story, which is what comic books are. Like comic books aren't just people punching each other consistently throughout the books, but we want them to punch people though.
Yes.
Um, But it has been movies like the MCU and the way that they have been formed and giving us political thrillers and comedies and so forth that have actually allowed people to see that comic books are much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we continue to read them and stay involved in them and become engrossed in them, because the storytelling itself can be so good. Zane said, I have a question for you guys. I was talking to some people about Eternals, and I came to the decision that I think that story could have been better told in TV show format. Thoughts? Um, yeah, I mean, like, certainly I think 13 episodes of the Eternals with a slightly better focus on individual. I think the biggest issue with Eternals is that there are too many characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it better in TV format. I'm pretty sure I had that thought when I came out of it. Like, yeah,
This should have been a Disney Plus joint.
yeah, like 4 hour long episodes. Like it had that perfect vibe. Like you said, all the different characters, give them 4 hour long episodes to dive into them and everything. Really get into it. I feel like it would just fit better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't completely disagree with that. I think it may have possibly served its purpose better that way, but if they had tried to take Eternals and make it 6 episodes, I don't think it would have worked.
No, it wouldn't have had. It had to been longer. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
It
No,
has
probably
to
in
be
that
like
13.
13.
Yeah, probably in
Yeah.
that 13 range. Yeah, for it to really,
Because
really.
most characters, they could give some characters individuals, and then I feel like there was a couple that they could probably do like pairings in there to
Sure.
kind of work them together, so you don't necessarily have to give each individual person an episode, but it'll flesh itself out.
Yeah. J. Robert Dean says the story could have been told better in serialized format, Z, but the visuals needed the feature film budget. And after Inhumans, Disney's not rolling those dice again. You know what? But here's the thing, J. Robert Dean's Disney has already stated that they are putting the same budget
Mm-hmm.
as they put
Mm-hmm.
into their movies into the shows, which is part of why those shows can be so much longer. I think, though, some of that has changed because those were decisions they made and things that they stated pre-pandemic.
Yep. So you gotta, adjust and pivot. Get through all this stuff, catch up on everything. Yeah, once they catch everything back up, okay, we're back on track again. So
yeah. Marcus said 59 days till Cobra Kai season 5. I don't care.
I was like, I gotta
took
watch.
the words
I would
right
have
out
to
of
watch
took the
season
words
one.
right out of my mouth. Don't care.
No.
Beats and beat downs. Yeah, I mean, if you go back and watch Eternals again, Zay, it's actually a really good movie. But I do think it's better served watching it at home. I think there's a lot happening in that movie that is much more difficult to appreciate in the theater. Though I think the spectacle of it deserved the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in it feels more Game of Thrones than it does MCU. And so I think that people are certainly better. Like the idea of doing something like that over time, I think would have worked better. I mean, it almost could have been billed as Disney's Game of Thrones to an extent.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
those elements were
probably
there for
would have
you.
worked. Yeah, probably would have worked better. Hey, Jokes.
Yo.
We just got here, but I'm ready to wrap the show up. Is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you want to talk about? Try not to bring up anything that I might have already said.
I kind of got you got some Thor in there. You got a little bit. I got the cliff notes, but other than that, no, I can't really think of anything. I mean, Thor was the big thing. Thor the Blerdcon. I think you hit the nails that would have been from this past week. So
yeah, I do think next week we're gonna have to touch base a little bit on Ezra Miller and what's happening with the Flash.
Woo.
DC, man, they struggle.
Hashtag just use Grant Gustin.
It's not even that. Urza has just flash pointed the whole DCEU for real.
He did, I like Flashpoint. I don't know who Urza is though, but I'm gonna let you have it. Zane said I can agree with that. It was really gorgeous. Just for such unknown characters, I would have loved more time with them. R.I.P. my homie. Again, I think that they could have done something that would have allowed it to focus more on what is happening with some of those. They also have difficult names.
True.
And anytime characters have difficult names, it is much harder for people to become invested. Lord of the Rings would be better
if the names was like Keith.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes. Because it is real talk. Listen, hold on. Nah, listen. Rock with me now. We about to go on a joint. Rock with me.
Okay,
it is much
Keith,
easier.
get rid of the ring.
Toby.
Much easier, right? For like, listen, no, just feel me. Bilbo Baggins, double alliteration. It's very Marvel Comics. Everybody knows it. They get it. They understand the name, and they know it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting into the names of the places they have to go,
now that I can get
the people they have to defeat, most people, and I'm talking about people who are not Lord of the Rings people, but we made movies, and that means we didn't make movies for the people who are Lord of the Rings people, though we did. We make it for people who aren't there yet, who don't know, who ain't in there. And when they talk about Lord of the Rings, they use the actors' names. Because it's easier. Who played Legolas?
Orlando Bloom.
They call him Orlando. Oh man, my man Orlando came down with the arrow and was firing it real quick, and they stabbed him in the eye with the joint. Never seen anybody do it. That's what they do. They don't call him Legolas. Legos? They will call him the arrow dude. The dwarf guy, the arrow dude.
People just getting into
two
it.
dudes
Yes,
with the
we'll
sword. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's complicated. And they don't even say the names enough for you to know who's doing what. It is one of the reasons why, and we sort of had this discussion during Blerdcon. I can't even remember who we were talking to now, but it's one of the reasons why, like, somebody was saying to me, like, they cannot watch stuff now without subtitles, no matter what it is, even if it's in English. And I think part of the reason why stuff like that is happening is because it's becoming so complicated. There are so many characters with so many different power sets, and so many different things going on that it's easier to like, okay, I know who said that, right? When you go back and you refer to it, when you talk about it, when you bring it up the next day, whatever, it's easier. Yeah, but Doctor Who,
I do too, Doc. But I
you already know who they are.
Yeah, people who aren't who are new to it. You know what I'm saying? It might be like when I first started watching anime. Yes, it was tough for me to keep those names and all that kind of stuff in those places in my head. Now it's it's nothing. Like, yeah. So I get it.
J. Robert Dean's, we're talking semantics, but he said the names are rooted in mythology, and I would say unfamiliar, not difficult. I disagree.
I think it's both.
I think unfamiliar and difficult are often the same thing for a lot of people.
Coming into it, yeah.
When you're talking about somebody getting an hour and 30 minutes, or in Lord of the Rings case, 2.5 hours, right, of characters who are going places you've never heard of, right, and are talking about people you've never heard of with names that are completely unfamiliar, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to track what's going on, who's doing what, who's where, who went where. As somebody who's seen, even somebody who likes Lord of the Rings, right, but isn't like a super fan, ask them what happened. They might be able to tell you the overall gist of it, but they can't tell you who went where, who was with who, and who did what. They know Gandalf. They know this shall not pass. That's what people know.
All these K-dramas dropping on Netflix, these thrillers that I be watching into, I can't tell you nobody's name or any kind of stuff. Like I'm so unfamiliar to it. I'm just, hey, the dude with the glasses, that was my man.
Yeah.
But you remember the names of the wrestlers you were watching 2 weeks ago when you were watching wrestling?
Oh, my man, Fresh and Squeezed? Oh, Fresh and Squeezed, that's that dude. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna, no, he put on the show. You can't forget that brother's name when you see him on time.
This is bad. Like, he's corrupted now.
No, Fresh and Squeezed, my guy. I'm sorry. Out of everybody that night, it was Fresh and Squeezed and one other dude.
Hey, listen, Doctor Who, are you showing off? Don't show off for me. I get it. I'm cool. I get it. I'm simply saying, all right, so Doctor Who. Here's the thing. Great job. Now name the Eternals. Because that was the point I was making.
Without Googling it.
Marcus told you what, Jokes?
Must be talking about that freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy.
Hey, Slimmer Beast. I'm sorry. Just
You've had 20 plus years, 30 years to familiarize yourself with the characters of Lord of the Rings. So you're not really doing anything for me by telling me who they are now. But I can tell you that people who saw that movie 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I can tell you that somebody who saw it yesterday probably can't do what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not already invested. You have to choose that. You have to like D&D or something. Like you got to, you know what I mean? Like you got to choose that. That's just what it is. It's just, you know what I mean? It just makes it more difficult. So yes, if you were to take characters, look, there we go. Fake Superman 2. Two guys from Game of Thrones. Exactly. You know how many people I heard say Ajax? There's no Ajax in that movie. There's an Ajax. There's not Ajax. But you know why we say Ajax? Because it cleans things. We're used to it. Just keeping it a buck. Like it's just, that's what it is. So they just be like, hey, Salma Hayek. Because they know it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a yes. Yes. But not fine enough for them to remember her on-screen name. I'm just saying.
Salma.
Sprite's easy. Gilgamesh, I also think is easy.
I don't remember nobody's name from that movie because the movie was just
I didn't get fully invested into the character, so it was like
so
I didn't really.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I was also Jon Snow. Like, hey, Jon Snow.
That's different.
But his name's John, bro. I'm just telling you. Like,
you can't get no basic than John.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like, think about that for a moment, right? He does an incredible job of playing the character and being the actor and living in the role. He just John. Mm-hmm. They call him. They pick John over his real name because John is easier.
Kit.
It's just telling you what it is. So, J. Robert Deans, as a writer, if we're on this mythology thing and we're talking difficulty or whatever, Shakes is a simple name. It's easy. It's easy to remember. Not just because it's a single syllable, but because it has the same two sounds at the beginning and the end. And also because it is a thing that people are already familiar with. So it works. And it's marketable. And it makes sense. But you cannot easily put the Eternals on a thermos or a lunchbox and sell it to people because they don't know the names. You can't. It's different. It just is. Zaina, you can spell really well. Don't do that. You might have some discomfort spelling Gilgamesh, but you can spell in other languages. So I don't want to don't do that. Yeah, but some dummy was calling her 7-Up. Of course. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just, again, the point I'm trying to make is that Scarlet Witch is a simple name. It really is. Right? Wanda's easier.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Falcon's not hard, but we called him Sam Wilson. Part of the other reason why we did this throughout the MCU is because we established them as people and not as who their heroes are. Not as who the heroes are, but as the people. So they don't even refer to each other by their quote-unquote hero names.
Steve, Natasha, Bruce, Tony.
Exactly.
Because most of them too, their identities aren't necessarily secret anyway, so they don't
Correct.
have to be. They don't have to be afraid of saying each other's names out in the open like that.
Yeah, they're in the public with it. Yeah,
they just do it. And what that did for people who are watching is it allows you to align with the characters and feel like those people are more like who you are. It allows you to identify with them better.
Mm-hmm.
That's harder to do with Legolas. It just is. Here, anyway. I mean, you know what I mean? In the U.S., it just is. It's just part of it. That's all. Hey, Jokes.
Yo.
You got a job to do.
Cool.
Y'all know what it is. Jokes will put the Beacons link up. Again, we do this at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. Part of the reason why we're doing it at the beginning and at the end is just to be, mindful of reminding people that we appreciate your love and we need your support. So if you would go and follow us across the board, that everywhere you see, once you click that Beacons link, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you would tell others to do the same thing, we would greatly appreciate it. We're still on that chase to 1,000. The number is growing. It's not growing as quickly as we would like it to, but we're working on making some things happen, some changes that will help with that. Again, there are some changes coming to Patreon. You should see those announced next week. We'll be having a discussion tonight after this ends to dig a little deeper into that. J. Robert Dean says, are y'all giving Jokes more responsibility now that he's old enough to drink? No. Jokes is taking more responsibility now that he's grown. That's what's happening. Jokes is taking more responsibility, and we are proud. Marcus says, Hulk smash that like button on all platforms.
Yes.
You're right, Marcus. Sin, you have a job to do.
Yes, let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, and Meticulous Skin. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you. What's up, Kidlet? Welcome to the show. You are way later than Ty. But hey, anyway. Hey, Robert Dean said it makes him more nervous that you're taking on more responsibility, Jokes. What do you think of that?
I like it.
Oh, you like that?
Okay. I like that.
Okay. If he's nervous, I'm not. Well, that works for me. Yeah, let's wrap this up. Look, we'll be back next week. I have a guest plan for next week. Just keep your eyes open.
Cool.
We'll see y'all in 7 days.
7 days.
That we're out. Jokes. Can you do it before I leave? Can you do it this time?
You want to try? So remember. Hey, let's try it. So remember, just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good one.
Almost. We'll modify it. Having a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea. With that, we're out. Toodles and Lose. We forgive you, Sam. You're always forgiven. And I hope you had a wonderful and very happy birthday over the weekend. Happy birthday, Sam.